Well, hello there. Good morning or good afternoon, HLPUSD students. My name is Dr. Benita Scheckel, and I am your coordinator of visual and performing arts for the district. And I'm so happy to be with you in your classroom today talking about dance combined with ethnic studies. So today we're going to read a book together that I am very excited about. And we're going to learn to pronounce a word that is new to me as well. It is Bharatanatyam. Bharatanatyam in ballet shoes. When you look at this cover, can you guess what culture this is? That's right. This is an Indian dance. This is Indian culture. This book is written by Mahak Jain, and it has pictures by Anu Chouhan. And do you know what we call pictures in a book? Illustration. So we can say that this book was illustrated by Anu Chouhan. So I'm really happy to be here with you this morning. Before we open up the book, though, I think we should really practice how to say this style of dance. So it's Bharatanatyam. Bharatanatyam. How many syllables is that? That's right. 5. Bharatanatyam. Great. Let's say it together. 1, 2, 3. Bharatanatyam. Great job. Keep practicing. I've been practicing a lot. Bharatanatyam in ballet shoes. Let's see what the story's about. Oh my goodness. First of all, we have to look at this beautiful paper. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? It reminds me of peacocks. I have a lot of peacocks in my neighborhood, so that reminds me of the peacocks. But it looks like flowers. Oh, I always like to read the dedication. This book is dedicated to the hereditary dancers of the South Asian subcontinent. South Asian subcontinent. Do you know what a continent is? Yes, it's a big mass of land, and Asia is a continent. So a South Asian, so the south part of the continent, I see, subcontinent. So it must be near India. Interesting. All right, let's get into the story. Pato was excited to learn a new dance, but on the first day of ballet class, she was worried. What if I'm terrible? You won't be, Pato's mother said. You come from a dancing family. But we don't dance ballet. It's not the same. Pato peeked inside. Dancers were twirling and swirling like little fairies. Her tippy toes started tingling. Her toes weren't nervous. Let's see. So there's Pato talking to her mom. And then there she is in the ballet class, watching. Oh my goodness. Have you ever taken a ballet class? Have you ever seen ballet? I think the most popular that you might be aware of is called the Nutcracker. That's the big ballet that people go to see at Christmas time. There's also Swan Lake. That's a very famous one. Did you know that in ballet, which is a French style of dance, the dancers, the female dancers, stand all the way up on their very, very tippy toes? They wear something called toe shoes. And inside the shoe, they stuff this padding that protects your toes. And the shoe is very hard. And so when you come up on to your toes, you have protection for your toes, but it's also still really hard on your feet. Anyway, it's very, very beautiful style of dance. Pato watched two dancers show off their moves. Marco said he learned ballet as a baby. He could already pirouette. My mother taught me. Dana said she never learned ballet. She could helicopter, though. I learned by watching breakdancing videos. Pato's mother was a dancer too, and Pato hadn't learned ballet either. She showed Marco and Dana what she could do. She walked like a Bharatanatyam dancer. Marco and Dana were confused. What's the dance move? I think she was walking. So let's take a look at all that's going on here. So we see Marco, he's doing a pirouette. That's another French style word that means to spin around with one leg up. We see Pato watching, and then we see Dana on the bottom there doing a breakdance move, a helicopter. And then we see Pato is showing her Bharatanatyam dance move, which looks like walking. So the students are confused. Let's turn the page. Pato's face burned. She wanted to show she could dance, but they thought all she could do was walk. Dana tried to walk like Pato. I feel like a supermodel. Marco walked too. We're supermodel dancers. Supermodel with us, Pato. Pato's smile returned. Dana and Marco wanted her to join. They walk danced in circles around the room. Well, isn't that nice? So Pato at first thought that they were maybe making fun of her, but now we can see that they're joining in. And I like that we see the buildings through the window behind. I wonder if they're in New York City or maybe Chicago, a big city. Anna Pavlova is my favorite dancer, Marco said. My mom likes to eat pavlova, Dana said. You can't eat pavlova, Dana giggled. It's my mom's favorite dessert. Let's talk about that for a minute. Have you ever had a pavlova? It's sort of like a meringue, and it's very sweet and very delicious. And so when Marco is talking about a dancer whose last name is Pavlova, it makes Dana think about her mom's favorite dessert, which is a pavlova, and they laugh about it. My favorite dancer is Rukmini Devi, Pato said. Who's that? Marco said. Can you eat it? Dana said. Pato blushed and shook her head. She wanted to show she knew dancers too. But Dana and Marco had never heard of Bharatanatyam dancers. Oh, let's look at this. So first, here's the beautiful pavlova dessert. Do you see that? And Marco's favorite dancer, Anna Pavlova. So we see both of them. And you see how it's like a cloud. So the dessert is like a cloud with fruit in the middle. And then here is Pato's favorite dancer, a Bharatanatyam dancer. So it's interesting, right, to think about what we think when we speak. And others may not know what it is that we're thinking about when we talk. I think that's interesting. So in this book, we can see the images that are in the students' minds. Dana sniffed her tutu. I wish I was a dessert. You are, Dana Donut, and I'm Marco Marshmallow. We're the dessert dancers. Dana spun like a donut, and Marco wiggled like a marshmallow. Pato, what are you? A pudding, she said, because her worries were puddling all around her. There was so much about dance she didn't know. Let's look at this. So we see Marco Marshmallow, Dana Donut, and we see Pato Pudding, because she's starting to feel badly, like her emotions are coming down. She feels sad because she's realizing there's a lot she doesn't know. Madame taught them how to lift their arms. Dana mimicked Madame easily, and Marco was a pro. But when Pato tried, she moved like a Bharatanatyam dancer, drawn to the ground. Let's look at that. So you see, their feet and their legs. So it has a more wide stance, Pato. She's standing wide and kind of connected to the earth. What's wrong, Madame asked. Pato stared at the floor. How could she explain? She wanted to show Madame she could dance ballet, but Bharatanatyam kept getting in the way. Pato's friends tried to help. Marco gave her books to read. Dana sent her videos to watch. Just practice, they said. Pato knew what she had to do. No more Bharatanatyam practice, she told her mother. Only ballet. Oh dear. So Pato believes that by dancing Bharatanatyam, that's why she'll never be good at ballet. Do you think that's true? Take a minute to think about that while I take a sip of water. I don't really think that's true, right? Having lots of different experiences does not take away from new experiences and learning new things. In fact, it just makes you more talented. It makes your life richer the more you know and the more you do. But even when Pato and her mother danced side by side, Pato felt she was dancing alone. She saw how different Bharatanatyam and ballet were. Bharatanatyam turned Pato's mother into a queen, but a ballet dancer needed to be like a fairy, and Pato couldn't be both, not ever. So look at that. What do you think is interesting about this picture? One thing that I think is interesting is how mother and daughter are sort of looking towards each other. And especially Pato's mother, she's keeping her eyes on her daughter. I think she knows that Pato is feeling badly. The next class, Pato's mother didn't stay to watch. Pato chewed her lip in worry. Was her mother upset with her? As Pato warmed up, she snuck glances at the door. But her mother was gone. Madame clapped loudly. "Dancers, gather around," she said. Pato glanced one last time at the door, and her mouth dropped. Oh my goodness, what do we think is going to happen? Have you ever experienced that? Sometimes you want your mother around and sometimes you don't. And then when you do want your mom there, or your grandma, or your auntie, or your uncle, or your dad, and they're not there, you worry anxiously about where they are and if they're coming. Pato's mother was marching straight to Madame in Bharatanatyam dress and makeup. Pato ducked behind the other dancers. Her mother was upset. Look at that. Doesn't it just look like she bangs the door? Like, bam, here I am. Look at the children's faces. They look pretty happy. But Pato looks nervous. Madame pressed a button on the stereo and classical Indian music filled the room. Pato's mother lifted her foot. The bells on her ankles clinked and chimed. Her eyes, lined with kohl, flared. In Bharatanatyam, even the eyes danced. Pato's mother bent her knees. The pleats of her sari fanned open. Pato held her breath. She loved to watch her mother dance, but not today. Bharatanatyam didn't belong in ballet class. Then Pato's mother did something very strange. Look at that. The costume she's wearing, the dress that she's wearing is called a sari, S-A-R-I, which is different from I'm sorry, like an apology, which is S-O-R-R-Y. She gave her anklets to Madame. Madame pointed her feet. A familiar tinkling sound filled the room. Madame flared her eyes and slammed a foot just like Pato's mother. Pato was confused. Was Madame dancing Bharatanatyam? Whoa, look at that. Interesting. I did not expect that. Did you expect that? And then Pato's mother did something Pato had never seen. Something her mother had never seen her do before. She perked up her toes and pirouetted, just like a ballet dancer. The dancers leaped to their feet. Marco was twisting his eyes, trying to make them dance. Dana was tapping her foot. A dancer at the front asked if she could touch her mother's dress. Another dancer tried to swirl her hands. They needed more teachers. So Pato's mother is now showing Madame she can do ballet. And the children are all trying to imitate Pato's mom. So interesting. What do we think is going on? How did this happen? Pato dashed forward to help. Do it slowly, she said to Marco. She squinted and flashed her eyes to show him. You have to use your heels, she told Dana. She taught her how to stomp and pound. Pato watched her friends. She couldn't believe it. With her help, her friends became Bharatanatyam dancers. She knew a lot about dance after all. Pato froze. Did this mean... What do you think she's thinking? So she realizes she knows a lot about dance after all. She's able to teach her friends. What do you think she's thinking when she says, does this mean? Or did this mean? Well, that's not what I thought she was going to think, but it's interesting. Could she dance Bharatanatyam in a tutu? Now, what's a tutu? A tutu is a little skirt that female ballerinas wear, usually made out of a material called tulle, which sort of looks like net. It's very fluffy and looks like something a fairy would wear. Pato picked her favorite ballet position, flared her eyes. She pointed her feet and slammed the floor with a foot. She bent her knees into a plie. And hey, this one was the same. So a plie is another French word that means kind of a squat, to bend your knees and keep your feet flat on the floor. Pato was right. She wasn't a ballet fairy, and she definitely wasn't a Bharatanatyam queen, which only left one thing. So here she is realizing that she can dance ballet and Bharatanatyam in a tutu. Then she lifts her foot and she thinks, I'm not a ballet fairy, and I'm not a Bharatanatyam queen like her mother, which only left one thing. So what's between a fairy and a queen? What if we put those words together? Pato Janaki Shankar was a fairy queen. Oh my goodness. So she put the ballet dancing and the Bharatanatyam dancing together, and now she is a fairy queen. Oh, I would love to be a fairy queen. In fact, let's see if I have it here. Oh, I can't find it, but I did have some little crowns in my drawer. Anyway, maybe next time I read to you, I'll wear one of my crowns. Wow, what a beautiful book. There she is as the fairy queen. She's wearing traditional Bharatanatyam clothes, but she's wearing her ballet shoes and tights, and her eyes are flashing. And it looks like she has the jingles, the bells, maybe on her wrists, but not on her feet. So do we think we can take the things from our culture, learn the things from another culture, and bring them together? Do we think, is that possible? I think it is. I think it's possible to be who we are in our culture and then learn from other cultures and bring those things in to our lives as well. Because why? Because it makes us richer. I don't mean money rich. I mean richer in our hearts and in our spirit. Thank you so much for letting me spend time with you today in your dance class, in your ethnic studies class, in this incredible class that we're in. I really appreciate you. If you want to know more about Bharatanatyam in ballet shoes, there are lots of videos online, and you can look up costumes, and you can learn lots more about it. Thank you for being with me today. Enjoy the rest of your class. Bye!